my parents didn't like me DJing. Now they're like so happy about what I do now.
Because they didn't think it was a real job. I'm sure.
Of course. So like, don't let nobody stop you. You know, like just do what you gotta do. Be happy, and if you're happy with what you do, nothing can take that from you.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Girlsonfireatx. I'm your host, Samantha.
And I'm your host, Esther.
Happy Monday. How are we doing today, Esther?
We're doing good. And on today's episode, we have a special guest today.
Who is he?
Oh, he's good old Djcrg, Austin's favorite DJ.
Nice.
Say hello.
Hi, I'm Cristian Gomez,
What's
better known
up?
as Djcrg, or some friends call me Craig sometimes. If you know Craig.
Like Craig?
Craig.
Like, what up, Craig?
No, Craig is like his alter ego. I've seen it.
You know what's funny?
A couple times at
Total
work.
side note. You know how people say bye, Felicia?
Yeah.
My male version of that is Craig. Craig. Bye, Craig.
I've never heard of that. But is that like
I
your own thing?
made it up.
Oh, you did?
I did it.
Well, we should give that to him because okay, so his version of Craig is like, he lifts up chairs and he's like, he's like,
Isn't
an
Craig
animal.
from Friday After Next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
it comes from.
Oh.
But since like,
No, I don't know.
so funny story. Like when I got my DJ name, well, I've been CRG since I was like 7 years old. But like whenever I made my logo, everybody like, "Is your DJ name Craig?" And I'm like, "No, it's my initials." And
Oh, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
It's all clicking
Honestly,
together.
yeah, that makes sense.
and so then now everybody's just like, okay, like, oh, he's CRG, but if like you see me out being a fool, it's Craig. And they're like, oh, that's Craig now.
Got it. Okay, I get it now. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's a few times he's like, Craig's out. And I was like, oh shit.
Craig is here for the parties.
Yes. All right. So basically on today's episode, because we're in the service industry, we also have a lot of other key people that do play a part in like what we do and what we bring into like an atmosphere, especially a bar setting, which
The
is
hospitality industry.
Yeah.
We're here to bring fun.
exactly. So with that being said, we have DJs that come in and create the party, create the atmosphere, make it fun and everything. So
I mean, my drinks are great and all, but if we don't have good music, they don't want to stay.
no, and it really
Agreed.
it plays
100%.
a huge part. But I feel like just like people don't know how to like to give people a different perspective, like especially with like service industry. Also like to give people a perspective of what it's like to be a DJ, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that probably people don't know. Like I'm sure you have pet peeves, just like we have pet peeves. So
Where do
What
I
are
start?
some? What
Yeah,
are some
what
of
are
your
Where do
pet
I
peeves?
start?
Top 5.
let's go. What's number 1? Oh wait, no, what's number 5?
No, I'm gonna start number 1 actually. If somebody's buying a section behind you and they're like right around your feet and they start doing this or they touch my equipment, hate that.
Yeah, because how much does your equipment cost?
Depends. I mean, there's equipment. If you have 2 CDJs at 900, that's already like $6,500.
Jesus.
Two turntables and an S9 is probably $4,000. So yeah.
I mean, you got $10,000 worth of equipment sitting in front of you at all times then. And I think that's important to know, because I don't think that a lot of people realize how expensive that equipment is, and that you provide that. The bar doesn't provide that.
Yeah.
That's your equipment that you have spent your money on.
Correct.
For
So
sure.
if it gets damaged, that's literally his job.
And that goes to like number 2, like drinks around me. Like if like there's sometimes somebody just puts a drink there and I'm like, that's my laptop. If somebody bumps into it, I'm not working no more, you know?
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Then I got to go buy a new laptop. It's probably cost me $2,400 to $3,000, depending on the level of laptop you want to get, because I produce also, work on edits and music and stuff like that. So
Right.
When that happens, you're like, okay, then now you got to work on your laptop again. If you didn't back up your hard drive, which that's happened to me before. Pet peeve number 3 will probably be request.
I was just gonna say, how do you feel about
was waiting for
song
that one.
requests?
So, you know,
Because I do
Let's
that.
get, this is an important topic.
So
for sure.
I'm very patient, believe it or not. Like people come up to me and like I'm not an asshole about it. I'm like, yeah, let me get there. I say nicely. Now, if you're coming a third time, or you like told somebody else to
For the
tell me
same
the
song?
same song, then I get mad. I'm like, yo, go have a good time. Don't worry about your song. And then if you come on the 5th time, then I'll be like, look, did you park here? if you park here, how about you go to your car, go listen to the song in your car, and then come back.
That's probably the best response I've ever heard in my life. I do have a question. So when you are working at whatever establishment you are for the night, is there like a set playlist that you put out for yourself that because of that bar or that establishment wants you to play a certain type of music?
So it just depends. I personally always just go in the brain, like depending like the mood is in. You just every week is different. You're not gonna get the same people every week, unless you have a following and all that. But at the same time, you don't want to repeat your stuff just because if you do, like, even for y'all staff, sometimes y'all can hear like the DJ, y'all listen to him every week, and you probably know the next 3 songs.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
And so imagine like if your customers start doing that, you're not being original more. You're like, you just.
So if someone was to come up and request a song that wasn't in the genre or the vibe of the evening, how would you approach that situation with that
I
person?
usually tell them straight up, like, hey, like, this is not the vibe we're doing here, but maybe if you have any other suggestions, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay, so here's another question. I was talking to Esther
here
about
for
this
it.
earlier today because at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're getting paid to DJ and be at the bar, but you also, people want to come up and request songs and they should tip you. I personally think that if you're going to ask a DJ to play a song, that he should be tipped. Am I
I agree.
wrong?
I agree 100% just because we're not a jukebox.
Yeah.
The bar contracted me to select the music and all that. Nowhere in my title line it says that you can come request a song. I'm providing the vibe. I'm providing the atmosphere for not just us coworkers and when we're working together and all, but like for us to like make money. You know, now if you want to like stop my time to request a song that you want to listen to, of course I should be compensated for that.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think that people forget that or they don't think about it because in my mind, it's like, okay, if you go to a bar and you want to sit at the bar and order a drink, you're going to tip the bartender. If you sit at a table, you're going to tip your waitress. If you want VIP section, you're going to tip your VIP hostess. So what's the difference in you going and requesting a song from the DJ and not tipping your DJ?
100%.
Especially if he's playing the song that you want to listen to.
Of course. I took the time, one out of how many people are in that bar venue to play your song.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I mean, as a bartender, I know that when I used to work on Dirty 6th Street, I would go to the DJ because I'm a huge, first off, I, at one point in my life, will be a DJ on the side. It's going to happen. I don't have a name yet, but it's going to happen. But I would go up and I'd be like, hey, like he would go out of his way to even find songs that he didn't have just to play them for me. And I would always like throw him 20 and be like, here, thank you. Like, I know that you have to download the song. You have to make sure it fits the BPMs of like whatever else that you're playing and all the things. So
I think that's super important.
yeah.
But believe it or not, even though I was, you know what, now that I think about it, it could be between 3 and 5 requests because sometimes there's requests you get. And I like to time my requests, to be honest. Like, sometimes I don't have it. I'll go home, I'm like, oh, this is dope. Like, what? I don't have this. Sometimes it works for your favor, you know?
Yeah.
But it just, you know, it's taking the time because there's people, like, I know DJs that have been doing it for years and, like, they're not patient. They get so mad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can generally say I'm patient, but yeah, when you start being very repetitive, oh, it grinds. At least give me a 20 or like $10 or $5 or $1, you know?
Anything.
Something.
It's the thought that counts.
Of
I
course.
think that goes into
But
it.
if you start being I'll be honest, sometimes I don't have it. I'm like, here's your money back. I didn't have the song,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's very admirable of you because I would think that not everyone would be that way.
I mean, good karma, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. How long have you been DJing?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you want to start DJing?
So I've always liked music since I was little, but my parents never like got me into like band or anything like that. I was always playing like sports and all that. But then when I moved to college at UTSA, I was throwing parties all the time, like college parties and all that.
I've definitely done that.
What
a vibe.
Yeah, well, so I was doing that, and I was like already going to like big music raves and all that, you know. So I always wanted to do it, and then when I got sick with my cancer, that motivated me to be like, you know what? I've always liked DJing. I've always liked music. I'm gonna just do it. Because once I beat that, that made me like want to go chase that career path. And luckily, the person I met over there in San Antonio is the one that helped me get where I'm at right now, like to learn all that stuff.
So you've just DJ'd in San Antonio, Houston, and Austin?
I've done that Dallas also. I've done Florida and like other spots too. But
Where in Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay,
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, so
It's a good spot. I mean, it's
it's popping now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for sure.
I've done a lot of out of town places. It's just not as like now like where I'm at in a career now that I can do like, because usually like when I did them, it was like opening set because I didn't have a name brand like I have now. Like now I could probably go out of town, get a headliner set with an opener and just show up toe to two and then call it a night.
I mean, I've been in Austin for 3 years, and I can say that, like, just from the amount of time I've known you in the past, year and a half maybe, you have come up so much, which is so awesome to see because to me, it's like anyone can be a DJ, right? Like, anyone can be anything that you want to be, but to be
if you manifest it.
Yeah, to be a good musician and whatever aspect that is for someone, it's a different concept. So it's like there's DJs that can literally like I said, have a playlist, push the next song. It's not hard, but to have there's so much more that goes behind being a good DJ, and you definitely have that quality.
One thing I could say that a lot of DJs here that I've noticed are like they just collect the check. I don't like that. I'm more of like teamwork person, like the way we work over there at Bungalow and stuff like that. We all work together. Like if they're having a good time, I'm having a good time. Everybody else is gonna have a good time,
Yeah.
And same thing when it comes to music. Like how I said, like I work on music every day, 4 to 5 days a week. It's a day job to me too.
Right.
It's like this is my lifeline. So if you take the time to do that, it comes back somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
And then number 2 is hospitality. Like if my friends start coming every week, or if I take care of them, they're gonna come back. Same thing as for y'all when y'all bartending.
Well, it's free advertising, right?
Exactly.
It's word of mouth, which to me has so much more power than an advertisement on social media.
Of course, because
Yeah.
you just skip a swipe right away compared to like physically like, and that's another thing. Like me throwing college parties back in the day, it was like my self hustle, like putting out flyers in the college campus or like, so it was like word of mouth was always a thing. Like, hey, come out. Because it's like it makes that person feel special,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how we feel about like when people spread for the podcast. So like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I had our friend Scotty. He works over at Voodoo. He bought a couple bottles yesterday, and he was like right behind CRG. And it was funny because he's like, "I only come for you and CRG. If it wasn't for you two, I wouldn't come." I go,
but it's
"Thanks."
what's cool though is like having people that have your back like that, and then it's such a hard thing to not necessarily find, but it's like that loyalty.
Of course.
That is like loyalty in general is such a hard quality to find in people these days. But no, absolutely, for sure. What would you say some like do's and don'ts of like being a DJ in the hospitality are?
Being rude, number 1, because it just takes that one thing you say, especially in the era that we live in. Like you can say something really wrong, and then next thing you know, they can just put a Yelp review or put it on Twitter. And all. It takes that one thing.
The internet bullies, the keyboard warriors,
cancel culture. They're so quick.
All that. That's
Karen out here.
Yeah, that's one thing. And me personally, like, unless you're being very disrespectful to me, like, I won't deal with the disrespect. I'll just get you out.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think people forget that we have that power, that it's like, you can't come in here and treat me like I'm a slave. That's not how this works.
100%.
Like, there's the door. Guess who's leaving now?
Yeah, that's what I told you like earlier today. I had to kick a girl out because she called my other bottle service girl a bitch. And so I went up to her and I was like, "Did you say this?" And she was like, "Well, she's acting like a bitch." I go, "We don't do that here.
No.
I don't go into your work and disrespect you. So you have one or two options. You either apologize to her or you can leave."
Yeah,
And so she didn't apologize. So I was like, "Goodbye."
We don't tolerate the disrespect.
Like, no. And I've seen people be disrespectful to you too. And you're just like, "Nah, man, I'm not the one."
Talking about that, how you just said that, you don't go to your work. That's number 4 for me. When you're trying to have a conversation with me when I'm DJing. Hate that. I'm like,
good to know.
I don't go to your, so if let's just say,
I'll stop bugging you.
no, not like that. But see, like, at least we're short about it, and like, but there's people who sit there for 20 minutes, like,
trying to talk to you.
How their life's been, and I'm like, bro, I don't go to your office while you're sitting on the computer and talk to you. Do I? No, or like,
I get it, because that's the people that they'll be getting drinks from me and they'll grab oh my God, what do your tattoos mean? And I'm like, we're not doing this right now. They mean my business. That's what they mean. Like, next. Like, no, I can't.
And it's a perfect example too for y'all. Like, y'all have friends that sit there and they're probably lit, and then you're serving them, right? And then they'll stay there when they're like, "Wait, I'm working right now. Like, can you move? Maybe the person behind you wants to get it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm trying to,
drink.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like almost the same thing. I'm like, yo, I'm working right now. Like, I'm trying to think while I'm trying to listen at the same
Yeah,
time.
this is a job. It
And
may
I have
seem
my headphones.
fun.
I have my headphones on the ear, and I'm having a conversation, and I'm thinking the next song. I'm like,
My
you
ADD
know,
is
like-
not helping
You
right
know, I
now.
think about one thing at a time. No, I know. I think that, like, in essence, I think people look at our jobs and they're like, oh, well, they're having fun. They're partying. They don't get to do whatever they want. And it's like, no, ultimately, like, last night actually was Saturday night was a perfect example at work. It was like 1:56, so they did last call. I had like 7 people at the bar. I had like 15 drink orders in my head. I had like, it was like, I could probably name it all back to you right now. But then the bartender's trying to ask me about a tab, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I love you, but what? She goes, are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm fine, but I'm like trying to remember things in my head right now. I don't have time to have a conversation about whatever it is you need. Figure it out on your own.
We'll talk about it in like 6 minutes.
I sometimes mess with her because she gets cash, and like I go get a water bottle or something before I go on shift, and she's kind of muddy. I'm like 10, 15, 20, and like, oh, she gets mad, and she's like, but
I do. It's one of those. They think that our job is so easy, and it's just a party all the time. And it's like there are so many things that we are doing in our heads that, like, just because I'm not speaking words out loud doesn't mean that there's not like a hamster on a wheel
Yeah,
in here
exactly.
working on different things.
Yeah. That too. Like I remember so he'll have some of his people come in and then they'll buy bottles. And then I'll be taking care of bottle service, but then I have other tables that I have to take care of. And then a lot of people that hang around with his friends that are buying the bottles will grab my arm and be like, I need a drink. I'll be like, the bar's that way.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you're friends with CRG. I'm like, I'm friends with a lot of people. Like, but you can go to the bar.
Honestly, it's crazy. It's like, you know, at first it was cool, but like now that we have the rails and all that, it got to a point where it was like people were just walking in like, then that's number 5. Coming into my DJ booth like you think you own it and you don't.
Oh, that's my pet peeve.
Yeah.
Now I'm not
That's
even a
number
DJ.
Yep. It's like you guys need like a fence around you at all times.
That's what we have
Like-
now.
like a
Like,
cage.
Yeah.
it's-
I had to, we have another DJ. Her name is IQ, DJ IQ. I call her Mariah. I know about Mariah. And I had to literally stand right next to her the whole night after I'd finished all my tables. Because if I left for 5 seconds while she's busy, somebody would come up, I need a song. And she'd just like look at them. And I'd be like, hey, do you know her? Get out of here. I'd have to play security.
We're like security as well as bartenders.
But then they weren't really taking me seriously because I was also wearing like a captain hat. And they're like, do you even work here? I was like, look at my flashlight. Of course I do. Get out of here.
I love it.
Oh my God. Okay. So I know a lot of girls would be interested in this
Okay.
specific question. How does being a DJ affect your love life?
Ooh, you know what's crazy? It's you gotta find somebody that has trust. When my former relationship, it was kind of tough because it was always like, who's texting you late, or like who's doing this, who's doing that, which I understand, you know. But like the lifestyle the nightlife that we live, it's just like hospitality. Like we gotta take care about it, you know. Whoever shows up, I'm not just gonna like cut everybody off.
Yeah, your whole, like we talked about earlier, your whole job is word of mouth and networking, and that involves giving your phone number out and social media out and all the things.
And you know, like there's trust, nothing to worry about. You know, like you just said like earlier, like loyalty is hard to find, trust is hard to find, and respect and all that. If you have all 3, everything
You're
should
a
go.
unicorn.
Yeah, but
Majestic creature.
yeah, but it's tough. The nightlife is tough. You know, I mean, it could be the same for y'all. You know, like
Oh, absolutely.
there's guys that come see y'all, and then you know they might have a crush on you, but you're not really leading them on. You're like taking care of them and
People,
stuff like that.
they mistake our flirtatious, our like work friendly vibe
Correct.
as like flirtation,
Correct.
and that we want to date them.
Correct, but it's you know, but then that comes also with the person, like what did they went through for them to feel that way, you know, and it's not easy to date a DJ. I'll be honest, you know,
No.
like girls are always gonna be around us, like, oh, we were at the DJ, like they love that, they love to be seen. It's plain honest, you know.
Yeah.
It just takes that person, like, hey, like, you know, are you gonna be respectful, loyal, and all that? And if you are, then you got nothing to worry about, you know. But yeah, it's tough just because, like, no, it's like you going out. Let's just say your boyfriend's a DJ, you're really mad in love with him, but then there's like 10 girls there, and you can't even be up there because there's their VIP table. So you're just seeing everything go, and you're like, they're cringing. Like,
I'd be fighting bitches. I
know.
can't handle it. No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
kidding.
throw hands.
no, that's what I'm saying. They're probably cringing and all that. And then another thing, the worst thing to do is have your girlfriend right next to you, And let's just say they get drunk or something like that, or, you know, and then they start finding everybody. You're like, you don't want that either.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I have my moments of whether or not I think your significant other should go to your job, especially as a bartender or a DJ, because it is. It's a lot of the times that, especially if you have problems at home outside of that establishment already, and then they get drunk and they bring those problems to your job. And it's like,
because that's where your demons come out the most.
Yeah.
Honestly, the alcohol is perfect example where your demons come out. Like, you know, drunk thoughts or sober thoughts, like they say. So, like, you know, they start feeling that way, and then they start telling you how they feel, and you're like, man, like, it becomes tough. It really does. And then, you know, the hard part, and this is the very hard part, is finding the balance. You know, because as nightlife for us, like, we're night owls. You know,
we are.
If your girlfriend or boyfriend has a day job, you kind of don't see each other, you know? So it's like, all right, so where does that balance come in? Like, what days are you, like, you're going to spend time with that person or anything like that, you know? And it becomes hard because let's just say you get off of your significant other gets off at 5. I got to go work at 8 or 9.
Yeah, you have like 2 hours to spend it together.
And then they go to bed probably by like midnight or 1 because they're probably going to wake up tomorrow the next day to go work out, do their things.
Right.
And we're probably not going to wake up till 11 or 12, depending how late you stayed out or, you know, if you did anything. So it's kind of like that's the hard part, is the balance.
I think it falls into communication as well.
Of course.
Which is obviously like a huge thing in every aspect of life. So for sure, I can see that.
Yeah, because then after time, it's just like going to be like, what's the point of dating if I don't ever see you?
I dated a guy who was a music producer, but he was a singer, and he ended up, this funny story, but he got recruited and was the lead singer for the travel team for the Chippendales.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Chippendale?
Mr. Chippendale. No,
wait, didn't we call him something else?
I'm sure we did. I think we called him Magic Mike. Either way.
Whatever.
In aspect, though, it was like we had a really tough relationship because his job was to tour and be that entertainment for women specifically. So it's like he had to entertain these women and make them think that he wanted them and that was like the hardest relationship, trying to justify in my head that there wasn't a line being crossed.
Right.
Now, ultimately, we broke up because there was lines that were crossed. However, that's neither here nor there. But in the sense that, like, it was a very difficult relationship because I was trying to be understanding to the fact that his job required him to do certain things. But in my head, I'm like, the Psycho Sam's coming out. I can't handle it. I'm going to lose my mind.
And that's the same thing. And it's crazy, like, you know, you know, if we can find somebody that can, like, trust you in that aspect, then, like, she's the one. Yeah. You know, because, like, even for tour DJs, like, most of the time they're out of town for like 2 months. They don't even see their homes. Probably like, even Tiesto said his home was his airplane for a year and a half.
Yeah.
That was his home, you know, like now he's like married with a baby and all that, which is cool because he's making that much money for a gig. Like now he just has to work.
Well, and I think on a side note too, I think that's why dating is so hard, is because people don't respect other people's ambitions and goals, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, right now for me personally, it's hard to date because I'm doing so much. And it's not that I don't want to. Yes, I would love to. But trying to find someone who understands what my schedule is like and all the things that I have going on, as well as they are another human as well. Their life does not revolve around me, and they have their own life. It's like, I've always said this. It's like kind of coming from the bottom, finding someone that can respect you and love you from when you have nothing to when you have something, right?
Best way to say it.
Because
you have said that better.
Because if you can have me at my worst and lowest, in a sense, even though like I'm not bad now, but like then, and you can see me through all the shit, all the things that we have to go through. At the end of the day, and then I'm now at the top where I'm making millions, or I'm this or I'm that, and then you have been by my side.
You rode the ride.
That ride,
you're right. Yeah,
like mentality. People lack that these days because 100%. It's like, oh, it's me, and it's like, well, hold on a second. Like the reality of life is like it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
No, that's why it goes back to like loving yourself. You have to love yourself because at the end of the day, that's who you have, and it's like, you know, And I think also people forget like dating too. It's like you have to date.
It's a two-way street.
Yes, and I was like, once you date one person, you're not committed to them. You're figuring out like who they are and if you guys vibe. If you don't, that's okay. Yeah. But people forget that, and then it's like you also, like for me personally, like I'm working 2 jobs. I'm focusing on my band and I'm focusing on this podcast. and then I have like 2 days off, maybe 1 whole day off, really. And it's like, I want that me time. But then if I have that little time, I will like dedicate it to you. But you can't expect to have my whole time when I have to like take care of myself, because I'm not expecting you to take care of me.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And not even just that as well. Like, I know personally for me in past relationships, it's a habit I've had to break and I'm still learning to adjust to. It's the fact that relationships, you are not meant to see that person every single day. You're not supposed to talk to them all day long, every single day.
Say this all the time.
And the thing is, though, is the way that social media is, it has us in that mentality that if they're not responding to us right when we text them, they're off doing something else, or they don't love us, or they don't want us. And it's like, well, hold on a second.
I always say social media is the ruin of the world.
Well, and it sucks because it really does fall back on so many different things. I know we're on like a relationship tangent right now, but it's just
it's the juice that they want to hear.
It's just that you do. I think when you learn to be alone and you're okay with being alone is the only time that you should allow someone else in your life. Because otherwise you end up codependent on the other person. You end up mad because they're not catering to your needs. Right. And something I saw and read the other day was, you don't love someone because of the way that they don't love you. Oh, wow, let me get this right. So you're supposed to love someone for the way that they are able to love you, not the way that you want them to love you. Because no one's ever going to love you the way that you want them to love you. You have to love them for the way that they are capable and able to love you.
Correct.
Right.
And that is when you say that to yourself and out loud, and when you think in that mindset when it comes to dating, it really changes your entire mentality.
And it's crazy that you say that, because it was like, even for me, when I started DJing, like, automatically, like, a girl wanted to change me, like, hey, like, you're not supposed to change who you are no matter what. No. You're supposed to be accepted for who you are. Mm-hmm. That's what the relationship, and vice versa, you know?
Yep.
Maybe there's things that person likes, like, for example, like, I'm not really, like, the affection kind, but that other person can be. So that's one thing that I had to learn, like, all right, you know what?
It's learning your love language and accepting people for what they're capable of giving you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, another quote that I like, it's like, my insecurities don't take vacations. So you have to be careful with, like, how, like, you approach things. Communication's key, you know?
I saw something on TikTok the other night. It says, if you love me for my personality, you have to love me for my personality disorders.
Oh, shit.
Right? Because I'm the way that I am because of the trauma and the shit that I've experienced in my life. So if you love me for my personality, bitch, you better love me for my personality 100%. Disorders, because they're there.
They just haven't come out yet.
I just hide them, you know? Like.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. What advice would you give anyone wanting to be a DJ in the hospitality industry?
Because I know you get that a lot.
You know, one thing that I can say is, like, be very hospitable, be very kind, because for some reason, like, I think everything's going well for me is because I make sure to put that positive energy out. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're just a rude person, disrespectful, you know,
entitled.
Entitled or something like that, you know, it just ends bad no matter what, you know, and that's number one. After that is, like, taking the time to do it. Mm-hmm. Not just be like, oh, I want to do this and not do it. You know, like, taking the time to understand it, where it came from, the culture and all that. Right. To kind of know, like, hey, like, oh, this is inspirational, you know, like, and then from there, just work, listen, take the time to go find new stuff. You know, I listen to everything, you know, I might just play a club set here and there, but I can listen to country if I want to listen to country, or even.
I think that you kind of have to be open-minded to all genres of music if you want to be a DJ, because I feel like even some of the most popular artists out there right now, and I can't think of names, but they use music from different genres in their music. I think Kid Cudi is one that uses
Kanye's
symphony.
Producer,
He uses like some crazy like stuff that you would have never thought of, and then you hear like the symphony music and you're like, wait a second. That sounds like Kid Cudi.
It's crazy. Like, a lot of the TikTok has been showing these kids now, like, how, like, these samples are making these new beats now. You're like, wow, like, you never thought of that. And that's how I grew up, you know, like, listening to music now. Like, it's crazy. Like, sometimes I hear some samples from the Backstreet Boys, and I'm like, damn, they're bringing all these songs back already. Like, when we were, like, 15, 14, 13, listening in the radio, you know, like, back when, like, started LimeWire and iPods, you know what I mean? So it's like,
do you remember Kazaa?
Of course, yeah, you know. So it's like, and we were talking about this the other day. Like, I remember like working on my MySpace and my Zanga, and then like finding the song that you wanted to
Yes,
upload.
on
Like
your, every week it changed, bro. Every single
that's
week
what I'm
it
saying.
changed.
So it's like, you know, now it's just the access of your phone, but
Yeah.
you know, but like now when I think about it, I'm like, man, I feel old when I'm hearing these kids are 20, 21 going to our bars, and we're like,
I
this is our
really
favorite
think
song.
I really think
Don't
that
hate
there
on the
are
20-year-olds,
different
okay?
wires in people's brains who do music. Because I think I've had this conversation with you, but I was telling someone the other day with the guy I dated that was the music producer, when I would sit and watch him make music, I'm like, how the fuck did you think of that? Like down to every single sound. I'm like from nothing, from zero, from no noise to like, and I'm like, I could never do that.
It's beautiful.
It's like what you guys
an art.
hear. Yeah,
It's
is
an art.
literally an art, and it is so majestic because not everyone can do that.
I think that's crazy.
It is. It's beautiful.
You know, same thing like an artist. You know, like when you see art and you're like, whoa, like where did this come from? Like, how did you create that? Same thing with music. Like, if you have the idea or like inspiration, sometimes even like stuff that you go through like will make you feel that way. Like that's your emotions being painted on something.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
That's how I feel about eyebrows. You know,
of course.
I'm not even kidding. Like I can look at a girl's face and I'd be like, oh wow, like her eyebrows would look really pretty this way.
That's crazy. I feel like that's how my friend Taylor is when she goes into a room. She'll be like, you know, she'll look at a blank wall and she'll be like, it'd be pretty if you had like one big frame
Oh,
here
yeah, I'm
and a
not good at
plant,
that.
and then maybe like if you had half a color here. I'd be like, where in your brain do you store this information? Because one, you're not coming to my house and telling me these things and how to improve my place.
I literally have two girlfriends, Erin and Kristen, that I told them when I get my house, I'm like, I'm gonna give you the monies and you're gonna go to the store and
That's
buy
what I
the
told
things.
Taylor.
Because I'm fucking terrible. I am the worst housewife when it comes to that kind. Nope. You want me to decorate? I have right here. This is my decoration. Is my tattoos. I cannot decorate for shit.
It's okay. I just want to say thank you for coming on our
absolutely.
podcast.
Sharing your wisdom with us.
Yes,
course.
I very much appreciate
Of
that.
course.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the episode today?
I don't know.
Any words of wisdom?
Any words of
This is your cue to enter like an inspirational quote.
Right?
And then go from CRG.
That's tough.
Don't
you
mind
know?
us.
I mean, personally, like one of my big things is just like do what you want, live your life, follow your dreams. That's all you gotta do. Like, don't let nobody stop you. You know, like even for me, like my parents didn't like me DJing. Now they're like so happy about what I do now.
Because they didn't think it was a real job, I'm sure. At first.
Of course. So like, don't let nobody stop you. You know, like just do what you gotta do. Be happy, and if you're happy with what you do, nothing can take that from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on today. We
course.
really appreciate it.
Of course.
If you guys do not know who CRG is, drop your Instagram handle real quick.
All social medias will be Djcrg, with the @ Twitter.
All the things. And I'm
SoundCloud,
sure on there you
Mixcloud.
can find any other links of his as well. He does DJ at Bungalow on Sundays. So
Friday,
make sure-
Saturdays.
Friday and Saturdays.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Summit on Saturday nights.
There you go. So you know where to find him, guys. We love you so much. Make sure to follow us on social media if you are not doing that already.
Link
Anyways,
in bio.
we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in every Monday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Peace
Thanks,
out.
guys.
Bye.